Hello guys, how's it going? I'm on 8.1 PTR and today we'll be checking out a brand new change to the talent of Shiv. Did rogues get their poisons back? In a way, yes and no, as Shiv now reads that it applies deadly, wound and crippling poison to the target. Now at first I thought this was a change primarily for Assassination Rogues and they were going to take away Shiv from other specs of Rogue. But as of right now on PTR, that isn't a thing. They haven't taken away from other specs. Like even with Outlaw, it combines with acrobatic strikes to give us extra range. It costs 35 energy, 12-second cooldown. The poisons last about 12 seconds, so you can actually maintain it the whole time. And it allows all three specs to have some poison to it. I mean, Assassin already comes with poisons, but it still helps Assassin away, and I'll show you at a later part of the video. But did Blizzard give rogues their poisons back at a 35 energy cost, 12-second cooldown? Maybe. And this is actually a huge game changer, and the way that it interacts with some of the other with Subtlety in particular, when you guys see that part of the video, the Subtlety's interaction with this is insane. But let's first get into the actual footage of me testing this out, and I'll go over in my live reaction on how you could use it, what are all the potential stuff with it, how it would even be usable for someone like Assassination Rogues as the video goes on. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. I think this still will get changed in the future. I don't think this was intended for all three specs for multiple reasons, but this is great and hilarious, and it's kind of cool to have poisons back in some way or another for all three specs of rogues. But you guys enjoy the video. Oh, applies all of my poisons. Deadly poison, which is ticket for 500. Wound poison, which is 25%, healing reduction, and a slow with crippling. Yeah. It looks like I have poisons back, boys. What is this? Oh, this is too weird. My deadly poison is back. I remember rogues were like, hey, can we get our poisons back? And you can actually maintain this at all times. As long as you have the energy, you can actually maintain this the whole time. Because look, the duration, 4, 3, 2, 1... It lines up with our Shiv, so yeah. It lines up with our Shiv, so you can still go on with your normal rotation as you normally would. You just want to make sure you have a little bit of energy saved, and Jesus Christ, the PTR servers are laggy. And you could stun somebody down, stun lock him, and then would have wound poison, so it'll be harder for healers to heal, unless they have a dispel. So this isn't anything new. This wouldn't bring anything new into the game in the format. What this would do, however, is make it a little bit easier for specs like Outlaw and Assassination to be picked. Like those are good specs. Assassination and Outlaw both are, or Subtlety and Outlaw are both great specs. The only biggest problem with them right now is Subtlety just doesn't deal enough damage. Unless you look perfectly geared, perfectly static for PvP, you just simply don't hit as hard as Assassination. Outlaw is a great spec. It does deal damage. It has some of the, I think, better CC in the game overall. The range stun, the blind that could be reduced at a lower cooldown with blinding powder, gouge, like grappling hook. There's a lot of cool utilities, and the spec does pump damage. None of them came with a mortal strike. So this could actually be a game changer for all three specs. Already Outlaw and Subtlety were great specs, don't get me wrong. You already had comps where it could work and you could do a lot of damage, but you being able to apply a wound poison as a Subtlety or Assassin or Outlaw, as long as you spend a global popping that ahead of time before you burst, like that's actually huge, because the healer has to heal them, and now they have a healing reduction, which they normally don't expect out of this spec of Rogue. While Assassination is more about damage over time, you know, the incremental damage, except for a couple, you know, stun lock, mark for death, in Venom, that's the, like, the only really bursty part of your spec. A lot of these other specs like Outlaw, they have a lot of potentially big bursty damage, same thing with Subtlety. So when you have this big bursty damage and a healing reduction effect that the healer can't really heal through, I feel like it's going to give them a little bit more of an edge. They already were great, it's just not a lot of people play them, but now there's almost like no excuse for people to play them, if Shiv does stay to all the other specs. Another thing I want to test, and this could be actually major, this could be the biggest one of them all, is with Subtlety. Is the coolest synergy I can think of. So it involves combining Nightblade and combining Shiv. So let me put on a dagger and a dagger. Actually, I have a better dagger here. I'll just work with that. Anyway, I'm not gonna change my gear at all. We're gonna pop Shiv. Actually, we first need to change the gear, change our setup a little bit. And instead of PvP talent slot, which we lost, Phantom Assassin, which is not really that big, honestly, anymore. Bam. Now we have Shiv. So with Subtlety, your Nightblade, there's a couple of effects to it. One, it is a damage increase on the enemy target. And this will take me a second to build up because the servers are super lagging in PTR. Deal 50% more damage to enemies affected by your Nightblade, but also healing effects reduced by 15%. So you have 15% healing reduction, plus 25% healing reduction. Is that 40% healing reduction? That is major if true. That is insane if true. So what I tried to do is get myself a Discipline Priest, a very friendly Discipline Priest from the PTR, and we were able to test a few things. So baseline healing for them is 21. The number here doesn't matter, but the fact as long as they heal for less with every debuff, like if they heal for 21 without Nightblade, with Nightblade they heal for less, with Wound Poison they heal for even less, and when you combine both of these, it heals for even less, then that's what we are looking for, as long as that number is lower if we are stacking these debuffs. And it did get a bit of confusing for a second in terms of the numbers, because the priest I think was getting some crits, some non-crits, or something along those lines. But in the end, baseline heal was about 21k. With Find Weakness, the heal was about an average of 16k. So with Wound Poison it went down. So if I'm gonna put just Nightblade, they should heal for higher than they were with Wound Poison. So we have our heal at 21 without any debuffs. We have about an 18k with just Nightblade. We have about an average of 16k with Find Weakness. And then it's time for the big one. When you combine both Nightblade and Find Weakness together, all we're looking for is the lowest number out of all of these numbers put together. If we can get the lowest number possible that is lower than 18 and even lower than 16, any number we can get, then we know that this stacks. Drumroll please, and it's 11k. Super nice. Actually, not even just nice, it's busted, it's broken, it's overpowered. You're dealing, what, 15% damage healing reduction combined together with 25? That is like 40% healing reduction. What? Very sure this was not intended, but feels very powerful and very much busted. I don't know if Blizzard will allow him to stack in the future, because 25% debuff is pretty strong on its own, but to allow Subtlety rogues to decrease the healing by that much, just by kind of managing that talent, making sure the debuffs are there, making sure Nightblade is there, I think is huge. With a spec that currently right now is not performing that great on damage such as Subtlety, it's a spec with a lot of control, but a spec with not a lot of burst output or consistent damage. The burst is there, but even the burst is kind of like, I mean, you'll hit an enemy for like 20k with an eviscerate at most. So, like, it's okay, I guess. If you're playing with a class that's already bursty, like a fire mage or something, then it works really well. Or a frost mage, which also works really well for Subtlety and synergizes really well, because the mage will basically do all the work. You'll just control the hell out of the enemy team. The debuffs you put up is going to, I guess, make you a little bit more, I don't know, viable. This is weird. I don't know if it was intended. I still am under suspicion that Shiv is just supposed to be for assassination, but I'm making a video right now to let you guys know exactly where it's at, because if this is a thing, this could actually be huge for PvP. I think all three specs would maybe start running Shiv as part of their setup to make sure that they are able to maintain Wound Poison at all times. So in a sense, for PvP, it gives back the poisons. It just has a cost of 35 energy and 12-second cooldown, but you can basically maintain it at all times, which changes the game up a little bit. All three specs of rogues now have Mortal Strike. Do they need that Mortal Strike effect in PvE? Do they always need poisons in PvE dungeons and raids? No. But in PvP, however, people have asked for poisons because of what they do. So the damage over time ability with Deadly Poison is not going to do anything for the other specs. But Crippling is going to be a passive slow that you can put up like in the opener. You don't need to pop, let's say, Pistol Shot and waste the comp points or the energy. If you don't have it set up, you don't need to get the, backstabs, I guess. Well, actually, backstabs is kind of slow is baked in, but it's actually 50% slow rather than Shadow Strike a backstab 30%. So I guess it's a proper slow. You just need to maintain it. And it's a slow that you would get as Assassination baseline. Yeah, I can't think of anything. It still does help Assassination too, because for Assassination, what the spec usually does, you run Deadly Brew as an honor talent, where you get a watered down version of that Find Weakness. So on one hand, you already get where's the Deadly Brew? You already get a minor Wound Poison that 15% healing reduction as is. But if you decide to go into Shiv instead of Deadly Brew, like if you're going to be pressing Shiv on cooldown anyway, you could just basically not go Deadly Brew. Or if you want to go Deadly Brew to get that healing reduction, not quite as big as 25%, but hey, there it is. I don't know, I guess it puts all three specs closer to the same line, because yeah, Assassination already gets, you know, the Deadly Poison and the Crippling Poison, but then the Wound Poison that would have to kind of honor talent into, and it'll be a weaker version. So now you can just replace that with Shiv, and as long as you can maintain that Shiv for 35 energy and maintain your energy, you can maintain that debuff the whole time. So I don't know, this still feels like it's only meant to be for Assassination Rogues. I don't think it's meant to be for the specs. But if it is, that's huge, because then you have Subtlety that doesn't really have a lot of damage, but now you have big healing reduction. So you don't need to deal as much damage, because when you're going against Subtlety, he's just going to suppress all healing. Going against Outlaw, it's a spec that, you know, pumps out hams and gonna suppress all healing too. And then you have Assassination, which can basically choose Deadly Brew and just kind of invest more energy into damage, or go for Shiv, so you can be the dedicated Mortal Strike guy, applying your dots all the time, constant slow on whoever you want it to be. I think it'll be interesting. I think it'd be cool. Anyway, I guess that's all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this update. Again, I don't know if Shiv is going to be for all specs. I have a sneaky suspicion that they'll change it, so only Assassination Rogues are supposed to have it. But as it is right now, what do you think? It actually looks interesting. I kind of love that healing reduction, and the fact that it stacks for a Subtlety. I actually kind of love that. I don't know if it was intended though. I'll see you guys in the next video.